Okay, let's get right into this because this is a problem that nobody's talking about. It's something that unfortunately you're not going to be seeing on other channels until I do this video, and that's because I come from the legal side. As the most viewed and subscribed to Disability Attorney, it kind of falls on me to give you guys the heads up as to what's going on because the Medicare people, the Medicaid people, the financial advice people, they're just not going to be on top of this. And this is the main issue. When it comes to the Social Security Fairness Act, a lot of you are waiting for the price increase. Some of you are getting, $300 more per month. Some of you are almost getting over $2,000 or up to $2,000 a month extra. You're getting a huge back pay check or a small back pay check. But the problem with these Social Security benefits is the following. Biden still has to pass them into law. Now, the Social Security Administration has already released an emergency message about what the employees, an internal document, are supposed to tell people when they call in specifically about this act passing. But the kicker is Biden still has not signed it. And we just went through Christmas. We're now past Christmas, and we are running out of days for this year for Congress to have this thing go through. And I want to just make something very simple and straightforward so you know the basics right up front. Biden traditionally is supposed to have the House, the Senate pass it, and then he signs it. If he doesn't sign it, then after a 10-day period, right, so long as, the Senate or the House is still in some way active, right, still in some way doing things, then in that instance, it will go ahead and pass into law. But if it's not active, if they're like done for the year, they're like done for whatever, that means that a pocket veto occurs and it never actually gets passed. Now, a lot of you guys will say this, and I think this is really, really, really important. Royalty, wow, thank you for the 12-month membership upgrade. That's amazing. That is incredible. Thank you. And I appreciate everybody who's a subscriber, who likes the video, and who becomes a member. I super appreciate that, but that's amazing for Royalty 72, which is Diana. So with that said, here's the kicker. Everybody assumes Biden is going to pass this into law. However, there have been a lot of things that have occurred right around the same time as the Social Security Fairness Act, which were already signed into law. The official designation of the bald eagle as the national bird, the Anti-Hazing Measures Act, the Accountability for Youth Treatment Centers Act, Keeping the Government Open Act, the Forfeiture of Pensions by Convicted Members of Congress Act, the Public Health and Safety Act. The Veterans and Military had a bunch as well. So there was the Mental Health Parity Expansion Act, strengthened regulations to ensure equal insurance coverage for mental health and substance abuse treatment as physical health services, the National Fentanyl Awareness Campaign Act. There was the Veterans Benefits Modernization Act. There was the Military Housing Transparency. There were tons of things that Biden's been active with his pen on. A lot of things. So why not the Social Security Fairness Act? Well, we're all under the assumption that Biden is going to pass it because it'll be a win for him going directly into the Trump presidency. Because Trump has a secret weapon. And the secret weapon is that he's going to get rid of the taxation on the elderly, which will actually help more Social Security recipients with a larger financial amount over a longer period of time. So the reality is Trump has one up on Biden. So Biden's got to pass this because he just hasn't had the touch, the feel, the grab on Social Security benefits with the increases of benefits that people expected from him. And that's because some promises were made early on that just never really materialized. However, I need you all to understand this, and this is exactly what we're going to go into. Article 1. Okay, so Article 1, Section 7, we got C2.2, veto power. So Clause 2.2. But let me go through the basics here so you understand it. I'm gonna annotate it with some vocal details as to how this works. Because when you read Article 1, people are like, what does that mean? So I'm gonna make it make sense real quick. Here we go. Every bill, my apologies. Every bill which shall have passed the House of Representatives and the Senate, like the Social Security Fairness Act, shall, which means must, before it become a law, be presented to the President of the United States. It's got to go to Biden. Biden's got to sign it. He's got to sign it soon. If he approves, he shall sign it. But if not, he shall return it. So the whole idea here is capacity to return the bill. Remember that. That's important. What happens to the bill if he doesn't sign it? Where does it go? Okay. But if not, he must return it. with his objections to that house in which it shall have originated, who shall enter the objections at large on their journal, so it's got to go basically to the House of Representatives, and proceed to reconsider it. If after such reconsideration 2/3 of that House shall agree to pass the bill, it shall be sent together with the objections to the other House. So House of Representatives will send it to the Senate, okay? It shall be sent to together with the objections to the other House, by which it shall likewise be reconsidered. And if approved by 2/3 of that House, in this case, House of Representatives, and also the Senate, it shall become law, right? That's how you shoots and ladder around the president to make something into law where he doesn't have to actually sign it, okay? That can't happen. There's not enough time. Congress is not in session at this point. It's falling apart in that regard. So the point is, the president doesn't really have a group to send it to because Congress is now, for the most part, not in session, holiday season, right? The 20th was supposed to be the last day. Then the government was going to not be funded, so they stayed longer, yada, yada, yada. Bottom line is Congress is not technically in session, okay? So it can't be returned to some group if he says he doesn't like something, okay? But in all such cases, the votes of both houses, House of Representatives and Senate, shall be determined by yeas and nays, and the names of the persons voting for and against the bill shall be entered on the journal of each house respectively. They do a roll call, who likes it, who doesn't. If any bill shall not be returned, and this is the most important part, okay, focus on this part. I'm going to read it slowly. If any bill shall not be returned, okay, where the president sends it back to the House or the Senate, by the President Biden, got to send it back to the House and Senate, within 10 days, Sundays accepted, after it shall have been presented to him. So it gets presented, he's got 10 days, Sundays don't count. The same shall be a law in like manner as if he had signed it, unless the Congress, by their adjournment, prevent its return, in which case it shall not be a law. All right, let me explain what that means. It's complicated. I understand that. Let me just explain what it means real quick so that you understand how effed the Social Security Fairness Act is in its current state of how many days it has left. If any bill, the Social Security Fairness Act, shall not be returned if the president doesn't have a problem with it and he doesn't send it back. Because remember, this was passed, let's see, hold on. I'll tell you exactly what it is. Social Security Act, Security Fairness Act passed on Senate on, let's see, December 21st. So literally, this is set up so that on the final day, December 31st, he's got 10 days not accepting. So basically, he's actually got more time, but it's not going to matter because then Congress ends for that, for that year. But the point is, here we go. The whole issue here is that Biden is running out of time to put this thing where it needs to be. Okay, which is that he's got to get this thing rolling. Otherwise, Trump gets to take the opportunity and pass it through that new congressional option, which is, of course, the people that Trump will have in. And he's got the House, he's got the Senate, all that stuff. So real quick again, if any bill shall not be returned by the president, sent back to the Senate, sent back to the House, within 10 days, we don't count the Sundays, after it shall have been presented to him. So he's got 10 days, we don't count the Sundays, to go ahead and complain and bitch about the bill and return it to them for them to work on it, fix it, etc. Okay? The same shall be law. So if he does nothing, right? If the president does nothing with the Social Security Fairness Bill, at this point, it's basically going to pass into law, right? It's going to pass into law, etc. However, here's the kicker. So long as, it's a situation so he can sign it, he cannot do anything with it, and it should pass into law. However, okay, unless, if he doesn't sign it, if he doesn't do anything, the Congress, by their adjournment, prevent its return. Again, let me go through this. Unless the Congress, by their adjournment, which they adjourned, right? Because they were supposed to go to the 20th, but they adjourned late because they had to pass, the government spending bill, because Trump and Elon said, this is bullshit, this is crap, this is a bad bill, I want you to work on it. They worked on it. They got it through. And the new bill was way better. Like I know a lot of people are like, just pass it and spend money. No. You want them to get rid of all the junk from it. Okay. Unless the Congress, by their adjournment, prevent its return, in which case it shall not be a law. What does that mean? It means that a pocket veto will occur. Okay. What is a pocket veto? Okay. The pocket veto is where, basically, the president holds on to something that can't be returned to the body that passed it initially. And as a result of that, it does not come into law if he does not sign it, or if he doesn't sign it within 10 days. So what that means is that there's all these ways that it can become law without him basically having to touch it, or he can sign it or whatever. But if this, right, doesn't get signed and it can't be returned, and once again, unless the Congress by their adjournment prevent its return, in which case it shall not be a law. So there's this point of it has to be returned, right? It's got to go back to the Senate. It's got to go back to the House, in this case more so the House because they're the first ones to pass it. The presentment clause allows the president to veto legislation, preventing it from taking effect unless 2/3 of both the House and Senate vote to override the veto. So we all know that one. Simple rule. The House and the Senate, they've got to go around. If the president doesn't like the bill and the president won't sign it, and the president sends it back and says, I don't like this, then the House can pass it, Senate can pass it, right? You get your 2/3 in there, boom, it becomes law. We don't need the president anymore. Awesome. Cool. The Supreme Court has held that the 2/3 vote of each chamber required to pass a bill over a veto refers to 2/3 of a quorum. Well, I'm not going to go into that because that's not totally, we're not focusing on that for this video. While the president may exercise the veto power to prevent a bill from becoming law, the court has held that once a bill becomes law, the president has no authority to repeal it. The court has also issued decisions limiting vetoes in certain contexts, including the line item veto and the legislative veto. These are important to know about because these are unlikely to become effective. The pocket veto is what we're worried about here. When Congress is in session, a president who wishes to veto a bill must return the bill to the chamber. Okay, so this is the important part right here. They're going to get to it right up front. So when Congress is in session, when they're doing stuff, they're interacting, a president who wishes to veto a bill. So the president doesn't like the bill. He's going to write something on it and say, no, I don't like it. Send it back. Fix this thing. Okay. The president who wishes to veto a bill must return the bill to the chamber in which it originated within 10 days, excepting the Sundays, of when the bill is presented to him. If Congress approves a bill and sends it to the president, then adjourns before the 10 days elapses, the president cannot return the bill to the originating chamber after adjournment. In those circumstances, the president can prevent the bill from becoming law simply by declining to sign it, sometimes called a pocket veto. If the president blocks legislation by pocket veto, Congress cannot later override the veto. Instead, the legislature must reintroduce the bill and enact it again. All right, let me explain what that means because it's complex. Bottom line is, president gets the bill. President doesn't normally sign it. Within 10 days, it becomes law. You don't count the Sundays. However, if Congress is not in session thereafter, within that 10-day period, then there's nobody to return the bill to if he doesn't sign it. Which means that if he doesn't giddy up and sign this thing within the next 5 days, right, then then basically we have a pocket veto, and this thing is going to be killed, which is mind-boggling because and everybody says this isn't going to happen, but again, there have been so many acts and so many bills passed over the past 3 weeks. He signed a bunch of them. Why is he waiting with this one? He should have done it before Christmas. It should have been the Christmas gift of Biden. So what's happening now is there's either two options. Option number one, President Biden signs it. Okay? He signs it. And the whole point of it is once he signs it, it becomes law. And then he has his win. and his entire 4 years don't look like he wasn't really doing much for Social Security. Okay. Because all he did as president was, the main things was he put in Martin O'Malley, who was the best Social Security commissioner we've had in a long time. And basically, he told Congress every time, raise, what the Social Security Administration gets in money to be able to run itself. Raise it. Give them more, give them more, give them more. But that's not really advocating on behalf of the SSA. That's not really going out there for the people. That's like standard operating procedure for a basic, Democrat. That's like level one of trying to do your job as a Democrat who's president of the United States. The other option is he doesn't sign it. He doesn't sign it. They'll pass it again when Trump is in. And then Trump will get 2 wins. He'll get the Social Security Fairness Act win. And then on top of that, he'll get the repeal of the WEP and GPO. Then he'll get also the repeal of the taxation on retirement benefits, the $25,000 limit and the $34,000 limit. Trump would have his own windfall, if you will, with massive changes for Social Security benefits, and his presidency within the first couple of months would be there defined as the guru, the savior, the winner of Social Security benefit needs of the people. Biden cannot allow this to happen, so he's got to sign it. And he's got to sign it within the next couple of days. So the point I'm getting at here is that this little thing is ultra important. Now, Biden, as you know, was flown back to the White House, right, to go ahead and sign certain things. I have been told by people who work closely with the advisors that he is aware of this. They're working on something. They're setting something up. But the problem is anything can happen between now and the 31st. And the problem is, as a result of that, we are de facto running out of time where basically he can go ahead and sign this thing. So if something were to happen, it would be so frustrating because so many people would not be able to get their benefit increases. And my thing, is the Social Security Fairness Act fair? No, they get the benefits they're supposed to. But then when you get rid of the WEP and GPO, then in that instance, they're getting money they're not supposed to. They're getting their pension plus the poverty, allowance on top of that. It's not fair. But I still would like it passed because I'd rather see Americans get the money than Ukraine. We've spent on Ukraine probably around $200 billion at this point. The Social Security Fairness Act will cost around $200 billion over the next 10 years. So my point to you is, I'd rather see it go to Americans than Israel, Ukraine, Germany, all these other places that are getting U.S. money. That's my thing. Is it costly? Yes. Is it the Fairness Act unfair? Absolutely. Absolutely. They're already getting their pension plus the benefit of the poverty option plus the option to their spouses and kids and things like that. Absolutely. But I'd like to see Americans do a hell of a lot better. Now, with that said, I want to keep going through this. So now you understand what the pocket veto is and what potentially could occur here and how Trump going forward would need to go ahead and pick up the ball and keep it rolling forward, which, would be a terrible blunder for Biden. The Supreme Court has explained that the Constitution's veto provisions serve 2 functions. On the one hand, they ensure that the president shall have suitable opportunity to consider the bills presented to him. It is to safeguard the president's opportunity that paragraph 2 of Section 7 of Article 1 provides that bills which he does not approve shall not become law if the adjournment of the Congress prevents their return. So what's important here is that this Social Security and Fairness Bill has to be returned. Okay? All right. So with that said, at the same time, the sections ensure that the Congress shall have suitable opportunity to consider his objections to bills and on such consideration to pass them over his veto, provided there are the requisite votes. The court asserted that it should not adopt a construction which would frustrate either of these purposes. So put another way, this is essentially a situation where Biden has to move extremely quickly or lose the Social Security Fairness Act. Tammy West, thank you for the $5 donation. I super appreciated it. That's awesome. Very, very cool. So bottom line, and then This Is Life said, is he vetoing the bill for increasing benefits for teachers and those who have pensions or for everyone on SSI and SSDI? He hasn't vetoed the bill yet, but he's running out of time where he can sign it. And if he doesn't sign it and he holds on to it, then it becomes a pocket veto, and that kills the bill entirely. And then the House and Senate would have to go ahead and begin the process voting over again. So that's the problem with this situation, is that if he doesn't sign it, we are running out of time for him to actually sign it. Now, the Supreme Court has considered two cases concerning the return of vetoed legislation to Congress. In 1929, in the pocket veto case, the court held that the president could not return a bill to the Senate where it originated when Congress adjourned its first session, sine die, fewer than 10 days after presenting the bill to the president. Okay. The court declined to limit the word adjournment to final adjournments, instead reading it as referring to any occasion on which a House of Congress is not in session, because obviously they're not in session anymore because holidays. The court held that the determinative question in reference to an adjournment is not whether it is a final adjournment of Congress or an interim adjournment, such as an adjournment of the first session, but whether it is one that prevents the president from returning the bill to the House in which it originated within the time allowed. Remember how I said the most important part of this is returning of the bill to Congress, specifically the House that started it, okay? Although, to be honest with you, I've seen them return it to different ones, even though it might have originated in one and then one sent it to him. I've seen him go back to both. So I don't know. I'd have to research that and find out exactly what their detail is and what they would do with this situation. But either way, it's got to go back to one of those houses for the return. Okay. So now with that said, because neither house was in session to receive the bill, neither the House nor the Senate, the president was prevented from returning it. One of the parties had argued that the president could return the bill to a proper agent of the House of origin for consideration when that body convened. So they argued, attorneys argued, that even though the houses weren't open, they could like make an agent, like a power of attorney, one of the individuals to receive the bill that was signed, or that basically was in a situation where it was being returned by the president, and then the agent in the Senate or the House could go ahead and receive it so that it wouldn't kill the bill, right? They argued that. The court further opined that delivery of a bill to such officer or agent, even if authorized by Congress itself, would not comply with the constitutional mandate. Because remember, the Constitution, that's it. That's the law of the land. The only thing above the Constitution is basically, warfare, hostility, harm, hostile takeover. That's the only thing stronger than the Constitution. By contrast, in the 1938 case Wright versus the United States, the court held that the president's return of a bill to the Secretary of the Senate on the 10th day after presentment during a 3-day adjournment by the originating chamber only was an effective return. It's 10th day after presentment. Now, there was a 3-day adjournment, and they allowed it. In the first place, the court reasoned the pocket veto clause referred to an adjournment of the Congress. And here only the Senate, the originating body, had adjourned. The president could return the bill to the originating chamber while it was in an intra-session adjournment because there was no practical difficulty in making the return. The court observed the organization of the Senate continued and was intact. The Secretary of the Senate was functioning, was able to receive and did receive the bill. The court held that such a procedure complied with the constitutional provisions because the Constitution does not define what shall constitute a return of a bill or deny the use of appropriate agencies in effecting the return. The court determined that the concerns that motivated the decision of the pocket veto case were not present. There was no indefinite period in which a bill was in the state of suspended animation with public uncertainty over the outcome. Thus, the court concluded, when there is nothing but such a temporary recess, the organization of the House and the appropriate officers continue to function without interruption. The bill is properly safeguarded for a limited time and is promptly reported and may be reconsidered immediately after the short recess is over. That's not what we have here. We have a long recess. This isn't like a couple of days gig and then poof, they're back. This is a long recess. So the point that I'm getting at here with this situation is that Biden has to sign this Social Security Fairness Bill immediately. Get it done, get it completed, because otherwise we are facing a pocket veto situation, okay, which is not good. We don't want that, because then they got to vote this thing through again, and we don't know what's going to happen. All right, when the Republicans come in, there's a lot of Republicans in name only, or the rhinos, which are like the old school Republicans. Those are like the Bushies, the Cheneys, people, like the hard right, not just like we want to make America better, but the hard right. Those people are not going to support this bill. Okay, that's the problem there. Mark Vietti did a $10 donation. I super appreciate that. He said something that I can't reproduce on here. Anyways, I will catch you all at the next video, which is where we're talking about essentially a question that I have seen end more disability claims by disability judges than any other question. I'm going to explain what you need to battle that question so you have a better understanding as to what to do in a Social Security disability hearing. With that said, Attorney Walter Hnot, we are live right now. Please remember to like. Please remember to subscribe. Please become a member. This chair is literally about to fall apart on me. This is the second one. I don't know. I guess I move a lot. So the point is this. If you guys really want to do something nice for me, I always love when people leave reviews at Disability Resolution Law Firm. You just Google it. Disability Resolution Law Firm, Disability Resolution Florida. It'll pop right up. I always love seeing those stars. They really kind of boost me and make me happy. With that said, to be very clear, I go live on Mondays and Thursdays, although it's kind of screwed up with the holidays right now, where I answer questions for free for anybody. And then if you need a bigger thing answered, where you need an hour of time, there's a mini contract below where you can buy a private hour. I will catch you guys in the next video in about 10 minutes. I'll see you soon, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much. Attorney Walter Hnot, have a wonderful, wonderful day. All right, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.